Brands were rejecting me for almost a year before I made one key mindset shift that changed everything for me. In this video, we're gonna take a deep dive into objection handling and what to say when you get that dreaded "no more Amazon sellers" on the other end of the phone. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan, aka 1000 ASINs, and I've sold over $70 million lifetime on Amazon, opened hundreds upon hundreds of distributor and brand direct wholesale accounts, and of those hundreds, probably 10 times that I've been rejected. Some of that is inevitable. I, over the years, have learned the strategies to turn as many no's into yeses as possible. I'm gonna section this video step by step for every part of the process from start to finish. So we're gonna start with topic number one, which is finding the right brands to contact in the first place. So a lot of people go wrong because they're just contacting brands that are gonna say no to them 100% guaranteed every single time. And that's gonna be a good 2/3 plus of the brands out there on Amazon today. You need to understand what types of brands may say yes to you. And I use a software called Smart Scout. And what that'll do is go through the entire Amazon catalog and break it down brand by brand by brand. And there are certain characteristics of those brands that you should be looking for when contacting a brand. So let me start with some red flags you should look for just to avoid contacting them altogether. So one, if they're like a Fortune 500 company, huge brand name, and you are a beginner seller, there is no chance they're going to open a wholesale account with you. I'm sorry, there's no chance they'll even open an account with me. So don't expect to just call Lego or Nike or Apple and say, hey, I want to sell your product on Amazon. Could you open a wholesale account? They are going to, well, they're probably not even going to respond altogether. So just avoid those huge household brand names. You might be able to buy them through distribution if you're lucky, but there's no chance of getting a brand direct deal with these mega corporations. Number two, look at brands that are selling to Amazon. So if Amazon.com is the retailer of the product and they are dominating the sales 80, 90, or even 99 to 100% of the sales, you're going head to head with Amazon and you're not going to win. Amazon can undercut you on price as low as imaginable. They can lose tens of millions of dollars on products. They do not care. They just want the lowest price. So going head to head with Amazon is generally a bad idea in most cases. That'll filter out another huge set of brands. Next, you can look for brands that sell themselves on Amazon. So if you see the listing, let's say it's a supplement brand, and then in the buy box area of the listing, it'll say sold by Amazon and shipped by, a storefront name. And if that storefront name is the same as the brand name, that means that that company is selling directly on Amazon and they have no interest in adding another partner because they're already capturing all the sales themselves. Those three things are gonna eliminate probably 70% of the brands. Maybe if you didn't know that, you would have contacted. Another good one would be they're selling to multiple Amazon sellers already. So let's say 2 or 3 sellers on a listing and those sellers are mega sellers with 100,000 plus reviews. There's a very, very low chance they're going to add you as the third reseller. Maybe if you have millions of capital to your name and can do a massive, massive purchase order, but as a beginner, that's not really the brand you want to target. So I'll conclude by saying, what is the ideal brand to target? Because I've told you all about brands not to contact. Let's get into what brands to contact. Brands to contact would be in the lower revenue range. So I'd say anywhere from $0 to $100,000 of revenue. Those are going to be either small brands or brands that are just getting acclimated to Amazon and their revenue is just ramping up. That revenue range would be good to target as a beginner. Also target brands that have already sold to multiple Amazon sellers. So you can filter brands by how many sellers are in a listing on average. So I would look for brands where there's 4 or 5 sellers already. That means the brand is already open to working with several Amazon wholesale partners. Use that criteria alone. You should be kind of in the right area to not get yeses every time or even half the time, but get some yeses if given enough contacts. I go into a lot more detail on this in my program and all the nuances of this. If you do want to learn a little bit more thoroughly about this and practice alongside a community, you can definitely click the link below. And we have a community that lives and breathes this stuff, discusses it all day. We're on to step 2. Let's say you've successfully found a list of 50 or 100 brands to contact that meet all of the criteria that I just talked about. Now, how do you actually contact those brands? So there's 2 primary ways to contact those brands. So one would be email outreach. That would be sending a brand an email with a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, that you're interested in opening a wholesale account, and perhaps a little bit about how you can help them. Email generally is going to have a lower success rate, but you do have the advantage of being able to contact a large number of brands in a very short period of time. Unlike phone calls, you or somebody has to pick up the phone each and every time to call a supplier. You might be able to contact thousands of suppliers via email relatively easier. That's just the reality. Phone calls are going to be more effort, a little bit more nerve-wracking, generally a higher success rate. So what you want to do is kind of dependent on what your style is. I still firmly believe you can open up wholesale accounts without ever speaking to someone on the phone, but I'd say the very best accounts require not only phone calls, but maybe even slide presentations, meetings, several meetings before an account is open. I would kind of pick your poison there, whatever suits your personality better, but know at the end of the day, phone calls are always going to be better. And a pro tip on phone calls and emails, it's important to get the right person. So a lot of these brands will just have gatekeepers, essentially like, admin@companyname.com, where they might get 4 or 5 Amazon inquiries a day. And some executive at the company has just said, just say no. They'll tell their secretary or whoever's their admin, just say no more Amazon sellers, no more Amazon sellers. And it's kind of a blanket response to anyone. So ideally you want to supersede that and get to a person. And there's a cool tool that I use to do that. It's called apollo.io, and it's actually free if you use it just a little bit. And what that'll do is filter out a company by department. You can type in certain job titles, certain seniority levels, and it will actually provide the real email to the right decision maker, and as well as a phone number. And that will put the odds in your favor and talking to the right person who might actually be able to authorize you without you getting auto rejected. Let's go through a basic phone call, something that you probably will encounter when you're reaching out for Amazon. They'll say, hello, Acme Industries. You'll say, hello, this is Dan from XYZ Retail. We're an online retailer that sells on online marketplaces. We're interested in opening a wholesale account. Often the first question you'll get is, okay, where do you sell product? There are a couple schools of thought on this. Some people will claim they're just distributors, or they'll say they're a brick and mortar store and they've never heard of Amazon. They don't know what Amazon is. I prefer to just be honest. Helps me sleep at night, not trying to skirt the rules of any of the companies. So I will say we sell on Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Shopify, which we really do. We do sell on multiple sales channels. But if you're just starting, you're gonna say Amazon. We sell on Amazon.com. Often they will follow up with, oh, I'm sorry, we're not taking on any more Amazon sellers at this time. A lot of people will just say, okay, thank you, click. But there are a lot of other people that will be a little bit more tenacious. My advice here would be to ask why that is. Why no more Amazon sellers? Not in a rude way, maybe even agree with them. Like, I actually like to hear that you're limiting the number of Amazon partners. What are the primary reasons that you're not taking on new partners at this time? They'll usually get into some sort of conversation about a pain point. The most common pain point that I typically see would be their MAP violators. A lot of times a retailer will have a retail price, $19.99 for instance, and they keep adding on more sellers. Most of them follow the rules and they sell at $19.99, but now 2 or 3 of them have started breaking the rules, selling below that price. Now you have other sellers complaining, hey, we're holding at this price as you recommended, but we're not getting sales anymore because there are people undercutting. That's a very common reason why Amazon wouldn't accept more sellers. So to that I say, I agree, you don't need more partners, you actually need less partners, and we'd like to be considered to be one of those remaining few partners, but let us prove it to you first. We can purchase a large quantity of products, and we also can help report those unauthorized sellers. Turn the conversation into like, we will help you with your pain points. Sometimes they just won't even get into it. They'll just say, we're just not. To that you can say, let me give you a chance to present what we can do, because I think you're missing out on a lot of value online. And then, you can schedule a time with them to maybe put together a quick slide presentation of some of their deficiencies online and have a real conversation about that stuff. I think the biggest sellers out there, they're probably doing phone calls just to schedule a time to present services, because you can't really present what you want on a phone call very easily. It's just kind of like a quick, awkward conversation. If it's kind of like a maybe or on the fence, you could say, all I ask is 15 minutes of your time. I'm gonna put together some analytics for your brand so you understand what's going on online and how we could potentially help. And a lot of times those no's lead to maybes or like reluctant, like, okay, I'll hear you out. And often you can win them over if you vibe well with them on the phone. So those are basically the most common objections and how you can overcome them. Providing value. So this was actually the big paradigm shift for me in contacting brands. Brands, what do they want? Brands want to grow. As a reselling partner, you need to help them grow their brand. An analogy I like is, sales pie will be a certain size and a company will add a second reseller, third, fourth, fifth, and all that's happening if these resellers aren't doing anything for the brand is that the sales pie is just getting sliced thinner and thinner. So rather than one partner ordering $100,000 of products a month, now all of a sudden they find themselves in a situation where they're selling to 10 sellers and those 10 sellers are buying $10,000 of products a month. And they found that their sales didn't ever increase. It was just sliced thinner and thinner. That's more work for the brand to process smaller and smaller orders. It's more communication, it's more invoices to generate. It's just more operational burden to get the same result to existing success. I'll go over briefly the main categories of adding value that we discussed. So one's gonna be content. So many listings out there, there's blurry images, there's only one image utilized out of the possible 7 on Amazon. There's no videos, there's no A+ content, there's no branded storefront. I know I'm throwing out a lot of terminology, but it's stuff you guys can look up and understand. So content is one, and it's one of the big ones. The customer wants to interact with the brand, and the brand wants to present themselves in the right light, especially if they're like a luxury brand. Helping them with that. So that could be hiring a designer on Fiverr or Upwork to help you generate infographics and high resolution images and create really good content for the brand. That's one huge value add. Another one would be listing optimization. So that's fixing the title, bullet points, description with the right keywords that people are actually searching. And that way the product is discoverable for the right keywords. A lot of times listings have a 3-word title and no bullet points and no description, and that product just isn't very discoverable. Another huge one is marketing and advertising. So that would be helping to manage their ad spend or possibly even devoting some of your profit back into ad spend. Brands love to hear that you are going to pay out of your own money to advertise their brand for them and manage the campaigns and provide the analytics on them. You could even offer to add the product to TikTok Shop or try to drive traffic from, off Amazon sources to Amazon. Another huge value add. Another one would be catalog. So sometimes brands will have a top seller in brick and mortar and it's just not even online, period. So they might only have half their catalog or 2/3 of their catalog up on Amazon. You can provide the value of creating new listings for the rest of their catalog and just increasing sales just by way of having more products on there. Or you can bundle complementary products that make sense. So let's say it's a beauty company, maybe you create a shampoo and conditioner set or like a total set of the entire product line. So then people are buying more complementary products than they were before. So I'd say the main takeaway is like think from the perspective of a brand. Don't think from a selfish perspective of how can I make money off of you. Think how can I help you grow online? Kind of like a selfless mentality, like how can I serve you as a brand and be a really good partner for you? And you reframe the conversation that way, you're gonna have way more success than just, can I have this? What can you do for me? Don't be difficult to work with. When you have that mindset shift, then your conversations are going to be a lot more successful. Obviously, there was a lot there, a lot to take in. There's a lot there because I spent 6 years figuring this stuff out through tons and tons of trial and error, tons of reading, like watching every YouTube video I can find, reading every blog post I can find. But I've put together something that can distill all this down a lot more simply and just fast track you on what's working right now in a real business like mine that's generating $30 million a year in sales with brand direct relationships. If you resonate with this video, then definitely click the link below. If you're interested in learning and just fast tracking all this and just getting the playbook, schedule a call. We can definitely help you get from 0 or wherever you are to brand direct relationships in a pretty short amount of time. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. See you in the next video.